Hey there, it's Laura here from makingcardsissun.com and welcome to another card making video tutorial here at my YouTube channel and blog. In today's video, I'll be creating an ocean-inspired shaker card using the Sunshine and Friendship set from My Favorite Things. Let's get started. I'm using some Nina Solar White 110 pound heavy cardstock to stamp my images. I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink and I am stamping images from the Sunshine and Friendship stamp set from My Favorite Things, as well as the Drink Up the Sunshine set from My Favorite Things. I'm coloring all of my images using Copic sketch markers. For my pink flowers, I'm using RV09, RV14, and RV13. For the orange flowers, I'm using YR09, YR04, and YR02. I have done many videos on how to color easy images or how to do easy copy coloring, and basically I just always use 3 colors for each shade I want to use. So I always start out with my lightest color just to get those colors moving and just to make the blending a little bit more easy. And then I move on to my darkest shade to add some shadow. Then I blend that out using my mid-tone color, and then finally I blend everything together and I add some highlight using the lightest color. So this is just basically a really easy technique that anyone could do. It's also very beginner friendly. If you are new to Copic markers, I highly recommend checking out the Copic coloring classes from Kit and Clouder. She offers some free classes and I took one of her free classes called Copic Markers 101 or Alcohol Markers 101. I'm not really sure what it's called exactly, but I will link to it in my blog post and I will also link to it in my video description below. So for my crocodile over here, I am just using 3 different shades of green, and these particular shades work together beautifully because I have had some trouble finding the perfect green Copic combo out there, and so far I really like this one and it's definitely my favorite one. So I'm using this color YG93 that I actually rarely use, but I'm using it to color his little belly. And this is probably one of the last summer themed cards I'll be making this year. I may have to do one more summer card using these themes from My Favorite Things because I just purchased these and I love them so much. For my shaker window, I am using a circle die and I'm going to position that in the center of this white cardstock that I cut to 4 1/4 of an inch by 5 1/2. To create my little frame, I die cut all of the colored images and I'm adhering them using Tonic Studios Deluxe adhesive. Yeah, just had to think about that for a while. I actually applied some adhesive to some scrap cardstock and then I can kind of dip my images in that glue and then position it perfectly onto my circle using my EK Success tweezers. I'm also going ahead and I'm using the Tonic Studios Smooth Precision Adhesive pen to adhere some of the images, and then also, of course, I'm using some foam adhesive to create a little bit of dimension. To create my little ocean piece of this card, I'm going to use Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks. I'm starting out by applying a layer of Tumbled glass ink, and I am using an inexpensive makeup brush to apply this color. Next, I'm doing something very shocking. It's a very important decision over here. I'm using the Salty Ocean Distress Oxide ink in my little ink blender tool to create these little waves. To tone that down a little bit, I'm going over that Salty Ocean ink color with the Tumbled glass ink and a smaller makeup brush. In the past couple of weeks, I have been watching a lot of episodes from The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross. They still air it here in Belgium. And my mom actually watched Bob Ross first and then she told me about it while we were doing the dishes. And so one night it was on the TV and I started watching it and I honestly couldn't stop because I was just so impressed. And I really love watching him paint. He's such an inspiration. He's so talented. And when I started reading about him, I honestly felt so sad to read that he passed away at such a young age. So I am going in with the Faded Jeans Distress Oxide ink just to add a little bit more of that darker blue, to add a little bit more dimension and shading. And then I am going over that using the Salty Ocean ink, and then finally I'll be blending everything together using Tumbled glass. So this background was a little bit inspired by Bob Ross. Of course, it's not the same since I'm not using paint, I'm using Distress Oxide ink, but he still kind of challenged me to create my own background and to kind of step out of my comfort zone. And it may not be perfect since it was the first time I tried doing something like this, but like Bob Ross says, there are no such things as mistakes, they're just happy accidents. So I am using some Tonic Nuvo Smooth, the Deluxe Adhesive to adhere a piece of acetate on the back of my frame. And then I die cut the circle twice out of some Fawn foam, and I am going to adhere these two layers together to create a nice frame for my sequin shaker. You could also use foam adhesive, but I sometimes, especially with shaped sequin shakers, I prefer to use Fawn foam since it's just a little bit easier and it also looks cleaner. Next, I am positioning my frame with my Fawn foam, and then I actually found this half circle I once die cut out of Nina Desert Storm cardstock, and it fits perfectly for my sequin shaker. I just went ahead and used a stitched border die from Pretty Pink Posh, and then I'm going to use that as the sand for my beach scene. I'm using a pencil to draw a little pencil mark over there so I can position this sand perfectly, and I'm using my ATG from Scotch to adhere that down. I'm using some of that leftover Fawn foam to adhere my images in my sequin shaker. So I doubled up the foam adhesive or the Fawn foam for my sequin shaker frame. So I'm only using one layer of Fawn foam to adhere the images inside the shaker. For my sentiment, I'm using some Nina Desert Storm cardstock and some regular kitchen flour to prep my cardstock and to remove any static cling, since I'll be doing the heat embossing technique. I'm stamping my sentiment using Versamark ink, and I'm using my Misty to position that straight. So I'm stamping that over there, then sprinkling on my favorite Wow white embossing powder. This is the Opaque Bright White Super Fine Embossing Powder. I'm heat setting my embossing powder until it's melted, and then I went ahead and cut a V-shaped banner out of this sentiment piece, and I'm adhering it to my cards using some foam adhesive. Next, it's time to finish off this card and to finish this sequin shaker. So first, I'm adhering my piece to a standard size note card, and then I am filling up my shaker using a really beautiful sequin shaker mix from Little Things from Lucy's Cards. Unfortunately, I've had this mix for years now. It's called Caribbean something, but it's no longer available on Lucy's website, so I will link to something similar. I also use some clear beads to fill up my shaker, and then I'm using more of that Tonic liquid adhesive to adhere my sequin shaker frame to my note card. So I'm just going to let that dry for a while. I'm not going to shake it until my glue is completely dry. In the meantime, I'm adding some sparkle using a Spectrum Bar shimmer pen, and of course I'm also adding some dimension and gloss using Tonic Studios Crystal Glaze. So there you go, that finishes up my shaker card. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click the notification bell. I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye!